Any tradesmen in here? Hi there. It's been a year and a half since I joined the forum, but I haven't come across any thread about construction. I may myself, and my plan is to turn my existing customers into annual maintenance contract, outsource it, etc. I have already asked a couple and they are more than happy to sign up. That's the only fast lane model I can see in this trade. If is there any tradesmen in here that have done something similar or have any kind of idea, feel free to share. All the best, Chris. With your experience doing the job, can you see anything specific to the trade that could use improvement? I guess in other words, what recurring problems do you face in your work? Are there any problems that your customers have that you could sell a DIY solution to? Just spitballing. Good thinking on the recurring service contracts. Could you also do different levels with that? Such as bronze, silver, gold levels. Also, you're thinking fast lane. What is your overall goal? Do you want more free time, additional income, both? Is your drive to help people using your skills as a plumber? Or is your goal to make money being a plumber? Or maybe the end game is to not be doing plumbing at all and you want to move into something else at some point, using the plumbing business as the catalyst to do that. Saying that my plan down the line is to do upsells like water filtration, emergency main water cutout and more. In domestic plumbing I don't see any big issues other than manage to get a plumber when you need him. I will solve this having contracts in place where the customer will receive 24-48 hours service. In commercial plumbing the biggest issue is the delivery time of the parts and luck of organizing the job. Hi, Richard Harpin was a plumber for Staffordshire Water and did a venture with them that he would manage the maintenance of all their customers. They are now all over the UK and Spain and US now via National Grid into the US electricity market. Not sure why the National Grid are in the US. Maybe their tech is better. The company did over £1 billion in revenue last year. £110 million net profit. It is called HomeServe. Maybe you could hook up with small repair companies and take their plumbers, electricians etc. off their books onto yours in small scale way. About the parts bit you just wrote. The motor trade has these companies that drive parts to mechanics and garages, like these guys who have been around 100 years. I don't know if there is a plumbing equivalent from what you have just written, but if not, is it feasible for you? Dan. Thanks for your reply. Yeah, I will put different levels in place for sure. I've already worked it out. My end goal is to create a team around it and get my time off the business. I've been in the industry 17 years mostly working for others, and this is the reason I want to stick with it. Loads of experience as a technician but not as a manager or CEO. Hi, Richard Harpin was a plumber for Staffordshire Water and did a venture with them that he would manage the maintenance of all their customers. They are now all over the UK and Spain and US now via National Grid into the US electricity market. Not sure why the National Grid are in the US. Maybe their tech is better. The company did over £1 billion in revenue last year. £110 million net profit. It is called HomeServe. Maybe you could hook up with small repair companies and take their plumbers, electricians etc. off their books onto yours in small scale way. About the parts bit you just wrote. The motor trade has these companies that drive parts to mechanics and garages, like these guys who have been around 100 years. I don't know if there is a plumbing equivalent from what you have just written, but if not, is it feasible for you? Dan or Quoty, I know HomeServe, I used them once. I'm a tenant so I'm not allowed to touch anything. The concept in my mind, it's similar to be honest with you, but different enough so I can get in the market. Yes, the parts are getting dropped off on site, but the problem is the suppliers running out of stock all the time. An Amazon warehouse like old solve the problem. Thanks for your input. No way to capitalize on that? I like your service plan. But why not take it a step further? Why not make it nationwide and have partner plumbers in all major cities? You don't have to be the one performing the work. Your company doesn't have to even directly do it. Don't box yourself in that you're a tradesman. You can use your experience in this space to be the CEO of a business that operates in this industry. Has a great backstory where he started in a trade and built a business based on his experiences. It is a hell of a business too. I have a question that I've wondered about for a while now. Why is there no nationwide plumbing service here in the US? There are plenty of regional companies. One of them, Mike Diamond Plumbing, the smell good plumber in Los Angeles, has an abysmal 2-star rating on Yelp. Other larger companies get similar reviews. I usually do my own plumbing, but when I've needed extra expertise installing the gas water heater that also powered the central air heat, for example, I always ask around and usually end up with someone that owns their own company, has been doing it for years, and maybe has an assistant or two to help him. Is this an industry where it's possible to consolidate? It's similar to car repair, I think. I'd never take my car to a large company to have it fixed. I'd much rather find an honest, skilled mechanic to work on it. They usually charge less and are better at what they do. Well, the problem with the suppliers is that they are running out of stock all the time. I can't remember when was last time we managed to get all the parts on the first run. There is always something to follow on the delivery note. If there was a big warehouse on every big city, London, Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, etc., which could stock the most common plumbing parts all the time and could deliver the same day either to the suppliers or direct on site using self-employed drivers like Uber, that would be a ton of value added. I might be a plumber, but I haven't got the thousands of pounds needed to build such an enterprise yet. Thanks for your input. Hee. Please don't reveal my plans. That's what I've got in mind. I don't want to start up a business just to create more work for myself, that's for sure. I'll check out $1 Million Smile posts for sure. Thanks for your input. I like your odds better than any of us non-plumbers. Best of luck, brother. Keep us posted. Should I move in the States? It's hard to believe there is no nationwide company there. The market is massive. There must be a reason. Here in the UK there are quite a few. Ratings? When you pay 50 or 100 quid call out for the first hour, it's hard to give a 5-star review. People think we don't add enough value, but hang on a minute. Can you live in your house without water or heating? Is there a need? Absolutely. Here is an example. Old you spend £300 £400 to buy a gadget that allows you to control your heating from your £1,000 iPhone X away from home? Oh yeah. But when the plumber charges you £100 to fit it and get it done in 20 minutes because he's been doing this all his life, you've just been robbed. Give him 2 to 3 stars and let others know. I'm talking about the majority of people. Don't take this personal. I don't even know you. I never take my car to a large company as the value of the car I've got now is less than £2,000 if that. But what if I was a high-class wealthy person own a £60,000 car? I would pay them extra to collect it from my house if I could, as I will earn more staying focused on other tasks rather than wasting my time driving to that place and asking questions all the time. I never had any problem or negotiation working with wealthy people, restaurants, etc. They are my future target customers. They completely understand the value I add and just want the job done. Chris, former plumber here, worked in London for 12 months a few years ago as well. Good luck. I wonder if you could work on, say, a 12-month house service, changing tap washers and cistern washers or something like that. Sell the customers on the benefits of not having dripping taps, cost of dripping taps, waste of water, etc. Would require a bit of follow-up calling and likely people might not be bothered, especially if their taps aren't dripping yet. What about the hot water boilers that heat the radiators? Do they ever require the system to be flushed, or the control taps to be changed. Just thinking typing out aloud here. The last company I worked for here in Australia manufactured freestanding water chillers. We would ring the customers and try and get them on a 12-month service rota, was changing a filter and a washer basically, 10 minutes work if the unit was working fine already, an easy earner. Yeah, the bigger regional plumbing companies have bad reviews compared to smaller companies. Not entirely sure why, but the reviews on Yelp seem genuine. Smaller companies have excellent reviews. The bigger national car repair facilities here are awful. They cheat people, and their employees are generally not very knowledgeable. It's nice to hear that it's different overseas. Means that it could happen here at some point. Hi mate. Glad to chat with a former plumber. I've worked in London 3 years, but it was an absolutely nightmare trying to get in jobs on time. I was spending more time commuting than actually working. An absolute rat race. I live in Liverpool now. Massive difference. The most important is that I feel better and motivated. Thanks for sharing your ideas. I will include all sorts of plumbing repairs in the contract. The heating system needs flushing once per year. £400 or £600 cost if you want to have a healthy and efficient boiler. It's the worst nightmare for a homeowner. Also, the boiler itself needs servicing and gas inspection once per year. Water chillers might work in Australia, but I haven't seen many here. We are using kettles and hot water boilers to make a brew instead. What are you up to now, if you don't mind asking? Chris. Well, it's not so much different here, but tradesmen are still motivated and working hard when they want. I don't know what is to follow after Brexit though. I've worked in residential construction my whole life and now spend most of my time as a marketing consultant for construction companies, so I'll share what I see. Residential construction is super fragmented. There are so many factors, but I believe one of the main ones is that so many companies are run by tradesmen, not necessarily businessmen. The vast majority of small businesses are very small operations with no or little payroll. Here's an interesting read by the Harvard Business Review with a breakdown of the remodeling industry. Plumbing is a little different in that I know more plumbing businesses that actually have a payroll. I think it's because plumbing is more specialized, therefore more scalable. Besides all trades being plagued by a shortage of good workers, I see two main areas that are inhibiting the easy growth of businesses, particularly new ones. Customer acquisition and retention. On the acquisition side, new companies have a hard time entering the market and capturing share. The local markets are mature and the few companies that have invested heavily have a firm grasp on their marketing. A new company coming in either has to be really great at finding their own customers or invest heavily in the outsourcing of building assets that can bring in new customers. The days of starting some Google ads and blowing up your business overnight are over, at least in populated areas. There is just too much competition to barge in and take a share of the market without a huge investment of time and capital. Strategies have to include multiple channels and companies have to be really good at all the other areas of business to make it worthwhile. Another crux of residential construction marketing is the boatload of lead resellers that have come to dominate over the years. Home Advisor is probably the largest one. They invest so many millions into local SEO and advertising they have made it hard for small companies to compete in their own market. It worked for a while, but as of the last few years these lead resellers have begun to charge too much for low-quality leads that contractors are pissed. I talk to multiple contractors every week that are trying to get out of paying thousands for junk leads they received. Home Advisor alone is like a bulldozer running over and squashing small construction businesses before they ever really begin. The only companies I see profiting are the ones that can afford a really high acquisition cost. Perhaps by increasing the LTV of each customer. That brings me to retention. Almost all construction companies I talk to say word of mouth is their favorite lead generation method, but they don't actively pursue it. That's why startups like House Happy are popping up everywhere that promise to allow construction companies to automate the nurturing of relationships with past customers so they will keep calling back. It's a huge step beyond the old fridge magnets. The magnets work, don't get me wrong, but having magnets be your only retention strategy is not sufficient. So, these three factors: 1. Labor shortage, 2. Client acquisition, and 3. Client retention are all holding companies back from growing. I'm sure there are other things that I'm not aware of as I don't run a regional construction company. The last thing that comes to mind as I'm about to press post is the sheer area of the US. Regional companies usually cover a few large metro areas, but they don't cover the entire region. It doesn't make sense for a plumber to drive 100 miles when another plumber is only 5 minutes away. I'm sure there are companies that service multiple metro areas. If one is NYC and the other is LA, is that nationwide? If you can come to be a big player in a few large metro areas, I think that would be quite a large operation. But, like every business, you get one piece working then build another. I am also in the trade industry, finish carpentry, and looking at a way of turning my business into a fast lane opportunity. I am looking into writing a book on the subject or maybe creating a training course. I have 18 years of experience in my trade and also have a few product ideas, but they would only be for other finish carpenters, so I worry the market for my product would be too small. Do you have any product ideas that would make other plumbers or even homeowners' lives better? I will be following your journey. Good luck. I'm not a tradesman, but you might be interested in Joseph Valenti's story. He started as a plumber. In 2015 he went on The Apprentice UK, won the £250k investment for his business. The business is worth over £12 million now. Brexit will likely increase the earnings of tradespeople, especially after the announcement they are looking at an Australia-style points system, so I wouldn't worry too much. Haha, yes, the weather does a good job of keep water cold over there. I'd never drank so many cups of tea as I did living there. Was just an example of a regular maintenance service for recurring income. I worked construction, so traveling was alright, long commutes morning and night, but at least to the same place each day. Quit the slow lane just over 3 years ago to run my e-commerce company, completely different field to construction and building. Hi everyone. I've been a plumber in NJUS for a bit over 11 years. I've left, dabbled with other business ventures or investments and came back to get my license to bring the plumbing into the fast lane. I'm not sure about the UK op, but in the US you get licensed by state. The license holder has to own minimum 10% of the company. That's the only way to legally start a plumbing business in New Jersey. To go national is possible but seems like a big headache. Usually the statewide companies are niche in the industry. For example, they focus on pharmaceutical plants, power plants, stadiums. I don't really see statewide guys going for the residential or service work. It does seem tough to go fast lane with a trade though. One way to scale is by going after bigger jobs. However, if you underbid a big job, that's all it takes to put the company out of business. It happens quite often over here. A company grows and gets big and gets one bad luck job that puts them under. I don't think there's any way to protect the downside for the contractor. I think that's how it is as long as you're working under a general contractor. Very much what happens here. Time and again I would see, or nowadays read about builders going broke and trades not being paid. In almost all cases, as best as one can tell from the outside looking in, it's due to overexpansion, taking on too much at once. Something has to give. Edit, which is why I think for a trade to be fast lane it needs to be recurring income like a membership-based model, regular committed servicing, etc. Going down the building path violates too many requirements in my view. Wow. That's a hell of tips, mate. I really appreciate the time you spent to share this. Back in the day as a teenager 20 years ago, I was working within my uncle's building company. You are right. There wasn't any payroll in place. Wages getting paid weekly, cash in hand. I'm not sure how it works now. For plumbers though, that wasn't the case. Every plumbing firm had its own accountant dealing with payments, taxes, payslips, etc. Fortunately, I have realized being a good tradesman doesn't make you a good manager, CEO, accountant, marketer, etc. It's a human resource system. I can't control everything myself. I will create a team around the business from the early stages. I've moved up north 3 years ago and haven't paid a penny on advertising. All my customers come through word of mouth. Keep in mind my prices are not low. I'm not chasing the cat. I rung lead resellers once. You are right. Once they explained to me how it works, I just put the phone down. Some plumbers I know, they are happy working with them though. Sorry, not for me. I wouldn't travel 100 miles for a job, that's true. Selling franchises to other contractors included in my business plan. Thanks again. Chris. Hi mate. Glad to see more tradesmen in the forum. I thought I was the only one, as most of traders chasing the money and hardly think about different ways scaling their business. I was one of them, but after reading MJ's both books something clicked in my mind. I bloody knew it. There must be other ways rather than increasing my working hours. I don't know what kind of courses carpenters need, but on plumbing there are plenty. Unvented cylinder, gas, commercial or domestic, pipe fitting and many more. I might think about running a training center in the future. I've also had a brainstorming about how to make a plumber's life easier. I came up with some product ideas, but I haven't chased it yet. Nice to have you here mate, all the best to you. Thanks for the info, I'll definitely check it out. Just remember, we are trying to be. So creating an online course would be a good option, especially if you could get it accredited and people could get their license from it. It would be easily scalable. Good point. There isn't online courses for plumbers so far though. I reckon the reason is that it's a service business and the candidates needs to get their hands on it, if you know what I mean. I can't see how you can become a licensed plumber without being on the tools. Especially gas-related works. I wouldn't give a license online mate. The trader has to prove that he knows what he does. Can do the theory online, but on the practical side I would need to be 100% sure that the candidate follows the safety regulations when installing boilers, gas fires, etc. Sounds like you should look into Al Levi. MJ mentions him in. I've been talking to lately and he seems like the perfect guy to help you. It's worth a look. I'll set up the processes in his family trades business before exiting to train other business owners on setting up processes. His website is 7 Power Contractor. Check it out. I see what you're saying. But maybe the course would be more for practicing plumbers. Guys who are working for a plumbing company and doing your courses at night. Hi mate, here in the UK as a qualified plumber you have to get registered with GIBS if you want to work as a sole trader, which I've already done since I moved in the UK. I don't know much about setting up a plumbing company, I'll find out next week. Bigger jobs is an absolute nightmare. You are depending on the contractor and his decisions. No control. The company I work for now as a subcontractor, they had to lay us off for 2 months as the contractor didn't pay the bill on time. Keep in mind the company, it's been operating for 10 years and this is the first big job they took on, 300 new built apartments. We came back from the Christmas holidays and the boss told us they are really struggling money-wise. I don't want even to think about how much department they are into. Definitely not something I would like to get involved. What I've got in mind fulfills all 5 commandments, so I'll stick with it. Don't forget, water is a physiological need, which are the most urgent needs to fill. I'm a music producer as well. That means I can work from home and reach millions of people, but the barrier to entry nowadays is not too high. I'm running it as a side hustle. It does get me a passive income, but I'm not a pro in the field. This is why I want to chase the plumbing business. More than 17 years of experience. Thanks. Brilliant, I'll check it out. Thanks mate. I work for a commercial door company. It's a bit of a niche in the construction field. Being on the supply side, it's harder to underbid a job than it is if you were doing the installation and run into problems along the way. We don't install openings or anything like that. The company is more of a middleman. We strictly supply materials, doors, frames, hardware, etc. With that being said, our costs are relatively fixed. You know what your shop labor cost is. You know what your supplies cost before you bid. You know what your delivery costs are, etc. Your margins on materials are better than margins on labor will ever be. I know nothing about plumbing as a trade, but I will say from my perspective a quality plumbing supply company is the better problem to solve. Here's a bit of inspiration for you. FW Webb is a privately held plumbing supply company. They operate out of 88 locations with 1,500 employees. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've thought about plumbing supplies as the problem is massive. I just want to stick on what I'm good at for now and I'll put it on my to-do list. I'll defo check the link. There are so many problems out there and people keep asking for ideas. Just look around you guys in your field. All the best, Chris. I am curious by what you have written, so bear with me. Penzance to Newcastle is 500 miles. Penzance to Norwich is 400 miles. So the extremes of north to south or east to west is not that great a distance in England. Yet Plumb Centre, Wolseley, Screwfix have 1,800 branches between them, and that is just 3 I can think of off the top of my head. I am sure you know others. Are these what you mean by suppliers? As an outsider like me considers them to be the place you would go to get your things. So I just keyed in some sort of heating cylinder system and Screwfix website tells me how many are in 6 different branches within 7 miles of me. So they have stock management systems, so surely must have automatic reorders from a central warehouse to keep branches stocked based on buying history of that part. Just trying to figure what you mean by supplier problems, as you have mentioned a couple of times that the problem is massive. If Persimmon are building 900 homes and the plumbers are delayed in fitting whatever they do, then that has a knock-on effect to the flooring people who would come in after, and then the painters, decorators and furnishing people, and therefore the date of completion for buyers' cash transfer. Either problem will run into pound millions if not pound tens of millions nationwide. So in your expert opinion, where am I going wrong with this quick analysis? If you feel like it, Dan. No problem mate, happy to break it down. Distances compared to the US are not great. You are right. Forget Screwfix, they don't sell commercial or industrial parts. Screwfix customers are DIYers, individual plumbers and electricians. Wolseley is part of Plumb Centre. We are using them, but as I said, there are always items to follow on the delivery note and takes 2 or 3 days minimum to fulfill. In London it can take a week or more. BSS is the king on industrial supplies but also is the worst on delivery times. Obviously they can't keep up due to the thousands of contractors they serve. Of course the job falls behind and affects every other trade on site, as you mentioned. Dryliners walk in first, plumbers and electricians next. There are systems in place but there is room for improvement. If someone comes up with a similar to Amazon's order fulfillment system, next day guarantee, guess what? Or to think out of the box. Another option would be get the plastic parts, waste pipe fittings and ducting. The most important for first fix 3D printed on site, but 3D printing is still on early stage and takes way too long. Thanks. Totally agree with you. By the way, it's not so easy to do these courses. I have asked various tradespeople in my local area to set up recurring contracts with me, and none of them are interested. I'm basically saying, take my money. And they won't. It's ridiculous. They want me to contact them every X months to schedule an appointment. And this is for basic maintenance stuff like cleaning out water filters, doing basic electrical upkeep, pressure cleaning the exterior of my house. I'm dying about how many opportunities there are to turn these businesses into subscription models, and there just don't seem to be any takers here. Hi mate, this sounds absolutely crazy to me. Here in the UK there are a couple of big companies who does all that. I don't see why the local tradesman wouldn't want to set up a recurring revenue business. I had this idea before I even read MJ's books. It makes absolutely sense to have contracts in place. May I ask, which country do you live? I'm in the US, down in Florida. Seems like there are services in major metropolitan areas, and at least one VC-backed company in SF trying to build this at scale. Well, my idea is try to find more people in your area with the same need and either set up a company with you being the CEO or founder and hire tradesmen or sub it out, or get a list with potential clients and sell it to a tradesman. If you would approach me with a list of people who needs my services on a monthly or annually basis, I would pay you to get it, and also I would offer you free services for life. Terms and conditions apply. This dude sells courses to handymen. $149 for an ebook on how to start your handyman business. Yeah, usually the problem is these people are mom and pop companies that aren't aspiring to do anything more. In fact, their problem is having too much work and not enough good employees. I'd be willing to bet probably that they are similar to me and don't even advertise anymore and have a line schedule for the year. Most of them owners or leaders never get out of the putting out the fires phase. In fact, two of our renters is a commercial electrician and a sign company. Both don't plan on growing past 1 to 3 employees anytime soon, though the companies that do end up adopting better models and choosing to franchise or grow their ass off, end up at the top. One example is True Green. Annual revenue 2016-19 $1 billion plus subscription spraying service. Upcoming company will be Monster Tree Service. If there's anyone who sees this alongside me, it's probably employees suck. Even if you give them the easiest jobs in the world and pay better than other places. But I get decent guys sometimes. It's about having a large enough margin that you can hire too many guys and then whittle it down once you have good ones that stick around. Next spring I'll be hiring 3 per crew. Just for redundancy. All we do is subscription model 12-month contracts with a 2-month cancellation fee. We have 85 people right now going into the fall or winter. We'll be saving up all winter to dump a lot into advertising this next spring so I can double in size hopefully. We've gotten to the point where if we hire someone that shows up and can use lawn care equipment at a basic level, the business runs very smoothly. During the summer I had a couple guys who worked great and I let them do everything. It was amazing. They had to go back to school unfortunately. My nightmare is to be in the same place year after year. It's imperative to grow the business and get more and more customers added to the schedule. If other companies can hire low-wage workers and can build a business out of it, then so can I. The whole industry around where I live is Mexican brothers and relatives running a little business out of their old pickup trucks. If you've ever watched The Founder, it's like all of the little shitty burger joints Ray Kroc went to before stumbling upon McDonald's. It just feels like there's a giant white space that hasn't been filled yet, and I want to be the McDonald's of lawn care. Build one location, franchise it, grow. That's the goal. If I can say if you read the book Uncrypted, already own a business. In this case you could differentiate yourself by finding the flaws of your competitors as customer support, faster service, booking via site and all other flaws of the competitors. Hi, thanks for your reply. Since the C0VLD started I haven't done much. Although I've done some research on competitors and designed the website with all the bells and whistles like book online when suits you, live chat and all that. May I ask what kind of business are you into? Thanks. Yes, I am currently an aspiring entrepreneur. In fact, I admire you a lot. My suggestion was based on the many business books read. I'm currently trying to take the entrepreneurial path by studying web design after work.